And greetings, everyone. Welcome to the 13th episode of the TESL podcast. Joining me today are my guests Charm3r.Schwiddy, Bradfordlee, and JustinLarson. Today's a bit different format, as we are doing something we're calling the Meta Flat Shot. So basically what we did was we went right on ahead and grabbed our favorite kind of decks to play that weren't exactly the most competitive on the ladder for tournaments, but decks that we typically just have a lot of fun with. So we actually planned a little backstory. We actually planned this a while ago, but we were all super busy with things. So we finally got this down. So, all right, guys. So I guess we'll start off with the first person in our round table. I'm going in the order shown in Discord. So Bradfordlee. Please, if you would, please take us across your deck, and yeah, man enough.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, first off, Gym Class, for having us on the show. It's all really awesome. And yeah, as Gym Class was saying, this is something we've been doing for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. Gym Class, would you say?
Yeah, we were planning, yeah, for sure, around that.
Yeah, it's crazy how long it takes for something to come to fruition sometimes, but it's cool for it to finally come to fruition. And I brought my favorite deck in the entire game with me, and the reason that I really love Elder Scrolls Legends so much is Altar of Despair. I brought my Altar Assassin deck with me today to discuss, and now this deck can be competitive and can be good, but the reality it's more just to have fun, and in general, the sort of mentality that it's meeting with me is not the competitive side of me. It's the as some people would say in the psychographic term, the Timmy or the adrenaline gamers side of it. The Timmy adrenaline gamers, kind of the subsection that they file it under. So let's quickly, I'll go through a couple cards of it. Unless if there's anything else that hops in while we're talking about this. Anybody else in here wants to talk about a specific card, let me know as well. But the first card that stands out to me is Balmora Spymaster. This is an RNG card, right? Like, this card, Balmora Spymaster, is a 2 Magicka 0/1 that when it dies will give you a random creature, and that random creature's cost is potentially based on how much Magicka you have, because it can be anything from 2 Magicka if it's played on turn 2 to 12 Magicka creature if it's played on turn 12 when you have 12 Magicka. So it's an interesting dynamic because this card scales with time, but it only costs you 2 Magicka to play. And so there's this sort of mentality with this card that some people hate, I think. It's this RNG factor, right? But what I love about this card is the RNG being existent to some extent, right? Like there is a Clown Fiesta amount of RNG that can exist in a card, and that sucks. That sucks for anybody, right? But
about this card, man.
Yeah. What,
yeah,
that's fun or that it's RNG?
It is totally fun. No, it's totally fun. This card works because it's not overpowered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hells, and it occasionally gives you mud crabs on turn 14. Like, I'm all about this.
Right, and what I love about it is that it's a card that creates unpredictable outcomes, right? And so the predictability of what's going to happen in any given game shifts every time that card is played. And so the fun for me with this deck is the dynamic of saying, okay, it's going to be different every single time. And since it's going to be different every single time, there's this like adrenaline rush that comes from it, like, oh my god, I got a 30-30 or something, or Odaving, PogChamp. And then sometimes you're just like, oh, I got a 0/1, cool.
I totally agree with you, man.
Fun. Yeah.
This card is a good example of something you can only do in a digital card game, like done appropriately.
Yeah, and that's really neat, and that's a dynamic that I think kind of draws me into this game, and that's what I really love about it. And then you also, on top of that, with this deck, you have Altar of Despair. So Altar of Despair is giving me access to the ability to also have unpredictability, right? This sort of this adrenaline feel of like, oh, what am I going to hit on turn 3? Because Altar of Despair is this card at 6 Magicka that's going to spit out, when you play it first, you sacrifice a creature, and it plays a 1-cost creature. Then with Altar Despair, the second time you use its ability, it'll create a 2-cross creature. And it'll keep scaling all the way up till we get to 12 or whatever the number is. So it's really cool to see Altar Despair in play, because in this deck, my particular variation on it, I'm only showing off, like, how many 2-drops here? 3, I'm not actually sure. 3, 6, 9, 12 different 2-drops. So when I alter Despair into a 2-cost card, it's just going to give me something completely random, which is crazy. And that's what I love about it. It's like, it's controlled chaos. I love that idea.
With you. You know what? When I first saw Altar of Despair, I was reminded of Birthing Pod from Magic, and that was a card that you could build a toolbox of creatures, and I think the flexibility of Altar being a neutral card lets you build all sorts of really neat stuff in Legends.
Yeah, and exactly. That's exactly how I feel about it, Justin, as well. It's really neat. And so I'm just like a real big proponent for this deck because, like, okay, when we talk about the psychographics, I guess maybe, are you going to go into detail a little bit more about that, Gym Class, or should we talk about that now? Or
I guess since we'll break the first 3 down. The psychographic profiles that each actually had several podcasts that reference these. So break down Spike, very competitive player, focusing really hard on just winning, looking for the most optimal deck. I guess you could say they wouldn't be watching this podcast probably. And then the next would be Timmy. Timmy likes to go big, go home, adrenaline rush kind of decks, fancy, flashy effects. You get Johnny, who likes the intricate combo kind of decks.
Yeah, and so like those are the 3 basic psychographics, right? And so this deck I would put as like a Timmy, right? Like a Timmy deck player wants to do big flashy things and they want to enjoy those flashy things. And so this player, I'd say it falls into like a subsection called Timmy Adrenaline Gamers specifically, because the Adrenaline Gamer is sort of like this idea of like an unknown Timmy, a Timmy who plays something really big and flashy, but they like the idea of coin flips and crazy things to happen sometimes, but not again, not to the level where it's Clown Fiesta, right? You want it to have it. It's like, it's just like you don't take all the pills at once. You take one at a time, right? I'm down to take one pill at a time, but I'm not going to like turn everything into RNG, so.
Man, old Justin and you, we could not have hung out, man. I was not down.
Not down for the good time. Oh, man.
Oh, jeez. Well, I guess not.
All right. Although I will say, Altar has been one of my favorite cards. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this card, I was like, oh, that sucks, I'm not using that. But now I try to stuff it in every deck I can.
Yeah.
I found this to be probably one of the standout from the Madhouse collection.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of the standout cards from that. I think it's there are actually a couple really neat cards in that set that have kind of enabled some very interesting archetypes and dynamics in the game, but that's the one that stands out the most to me as well.
Yeah, I think that the Madhouse collection, we've had 3 expansions now, and I feel like the Madhouse collection in some ways is the most successful for people who, for sparking that crazy deck building fire in people who really like to build strange things. Every card in there was built around in some sense.
Okay, yeah, I love this deck actually so much, Altar Despair Assassin. It's just fun. I think Balmora's Spymaster, to kind of touch base on that, was RNG done right, because the scope is just so wide that I've had times where I get multiple Devoth Fairs in the game, but I also get times when you get those cards you don't remember, like Canlor and Scout Leader. I bet most people in the chat probably don't know what that card does. I didn't know what it does until I got it from Spymaster. But all around, I think this is probably one of the most fun decks available.
Yeah, it's incredibly fun, and again, it does specifically meet to that sort of Timmy sort of fun, just specifically there for the fun of it,
Absolutely, the Timmiest card for me in it is actually Necron Mastermind, as opposed to the other two. Because when you get a good Necro Mastermind, when you have multiple Balmoras out, and you throw out Necrom and you high roll, it's the greatest feeling. Suddenly I have these 2 big creatures, and I still have my Spy Masters, which are still posing a threat. Yet, and I can just throw and Cruel Firebloom. I guess this fits into was Vorthos the one who enjoyed the imagery? I just like seeing that animation. I like seeing my thing get sacked and sniping something out.
I got two comments. First, I just won 100 soul shards for sitting here.
Yes, I also won something.
Nice.
Yeah. And second, one of the things that I think is cool about Altar of Despair is that in the right meta, with the right curve of creatures available, I mean, this could be a really competitive card. I mean, I actually played Altar Monk to top 10 Legend like this spring. I mean, it's totally doable.
Oh, it's definitely doable. I want to say I was top 20 last season with it. I'm currently in the top 100 with it. So it's definitely viable. But if it were to break down and we were to say, hey, what's the best deck in the format? I'm not going to lean to this deck and say it's the best deck, right? Like, that's not the ultimate goal for what this deck's doing. It's because I want to be able to chuckle and laugh at myself when I blow up my Balmora Spymaster with a Cruel Fire Bloom and get a 0-1, and I just go, well, GG, and it's funny, and sometimes it's good to do that kind of thing, but at the same time, like, sometimes you high roll Odahviing, but more times than not, we're talking 3 bounds outside the standard deviation of outcomes, right? These are outliers when you have these outcomes to happen. Most of the times, it's just going to continue the game as normal, and it's not going to be a percentage of the games. The percentage of the games that it affects happens, I would say, it's not statistically insignificant, but it's certainly so low that it's not like the most important factor in the whole in the deck,
Right. And what I like what you've done with this list too, because you've presented a deck that has multiple ways of making sure that you get value off of it. So even if it does, give you a 1/1 or a 2/2, you are generating small amounts of value, and I think that's one of the things Ultramonk does really well, right? Like between your Snaketooth Necklaces, your Baron Zaya, your Altars, your Necroms, you have multiple ways to make sure you trigger it. So it's not just dead space. You're going to get some value. It's just sometimes it's hilarious value.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I think we've said, another card I guess I'd like to see is Wisp Mother. It would be the final card I'd touch on myself. I just think the duplication effect is sweet, and I still need to try the Narcan Dream with something high in Wisp Mother someday. But I think, this is probably one of my favorite decks. The deck I'm introduced in today actually usurped it for my number 1 fun deck spot, but we'll get to that. Any other words on this? Anyone? Alright, so Charmer, if you are there.
No, I'm gone.
Ah, darn it, I knew you'd leave. This always happens. Alright, so we'll go ahead and introduce your list. And bang. Got it on screen.
Bang.
Got it. Okay, fine. They move it, there's invisible things on obs you have to move. But alright, I see you brought yourself a Rage Crusader.
Yeah, so when I'm looking for just fun, right? Not necessarily competitive, but I just want to do something, and if it works 40% of the time, but it does so in awesome fashion, this is my secret pocket list. I see a bunch of people saying Time to Fight in chat, and Time to Fight's not necessarily my fun list. That's more, I guess, competitive, right?
I actually have to go see an oncologist now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, right. No, this is a list that's 100% about, you don't want to win, you want to win big, right? This is the betting 0-0 on the roulette table list as far as I'm concerned. It plays like Crusader Control, and there's nothing super surprising there, but there's a bunch of really cheeky, fun one-off plays in here. We run the one Crusader's Assault because to me there's very few things as satisfying as playing your Crusader's Assault on something innocuous and then playing Unstoppable Rage. There's a Night to Remember in this, because when you're playing Unstoppable Rage, everyone expects Archer to be able to Gambit or Shadow Shift a creature over, but we have those neutral moves in the form of a Night to Remember, so you can still shift a creature over and get one of those flashy Unstoppable Rages off. This has some really fun stuff with Devour and things like Undying Dragon to potentially give it haste or ward or heavens forbid breakthrough. Then you can set up an amazing Unstoppable Rage as well. Wildfire Dragon in here combos very nicely with the Night Mother if you give it a few turns to set it up. Again, this is all about those 10% plays, stuff that's not going to work every time, but when it works, it's incredibly satisfying.
I agree.
So I'm really curious how Wildfire Dragon's been working for you, because that's a card that I've taken more and more of a shining to as the as Heroes of Skyrim, that era has gone on.
So the thing is that on paper, I feel like it performs much better than in practice. In the current meta, there's a ton of tokens floating around, and that's kind of what made me like, all right, I want to experiment with things that can be potentially good against tokens. So, like, Unstoppable Rage came to mind. Believe it or not, Fireball came to mind. Obviously, Ice Storm is there. Wildfire Dragon feels like it should do really well, but I think the biggest thing that hurts it right now is that if you're not running it in any sort of ramp deck, it's typically coming down after Divine Fervor, and I think that hurts it, right? So if you've got a way to accelerate it, then it's way, way better. If they don't have a Fervor or they don't expect the Wildfire Dragon, then it can do a lot of work in that scenario as well. Specifically against tokens, because most modern lists aren't running Javelin. They're depending on things like Imprison to kill the big threats. And if you Wildfire half their board, there's a strong chance that they just don't have enough to play the Imprison at that point. So, again, when it goes off, it's really satisfying. Getting it to go off consistently is a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah, Wildfire's actually been a ton of fun. I've been playing with it a lot recently as well.
I've tested an Archer list too.
Yeah, I've been playing it in Archer, and like just using like curse effects and kind of just like maybe taking a few extra points of damage to like set up this huge turn 7 Wildfire Dragon and like kind of leaving everything at 1 health. And I've gotten like some pretty crazy like 12/12s and like 9/9 Wildfire Dragons on the board on turn 7, and that feels pretty good.
I think it's definitely a card to watch. I mean, maybe a sleeper card in the expansion.
So one thing worth mentioning is that it does combo very, very nicely with a Night to Remember, because it does let it do 2 damage at that point, right? Like, you're stuck with the Shackle, but if it clears the board, it's mission accomplished. And it sometimes sets up a really good follow-up Rage if people then try to fight against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can totally see what you're saying. Night to Remember is another one of those cards that has a lot more interactions, kind of like some of the stuff in Bradford's Assassin deck that, you can eke out incremental value and win the long game like that. And that's the kind of card that really I like.
I agree. I feel like a Night to Remember. I do like the blink effects that were introduced this expansion in general. I think they're all great. And Wildfire, I love the... I just want to put this out. It has one of the best animations in the game. And I'm really glad they buffed it, the animation. Because originally it took about 5 minutes for that little flame tornado on each creature to go off. I like to take credit for fixing that, actually, because I did message Maricon about that. So you can all thank me for fixing Wildfire Dragon. No big deal.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Good looking out.
I'm just here to help.
I honestly don't even know what it did at first. I honestly have no idea what it did.
It was super long. It was just super long. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
You kill something and it's like, shoot, a slow little flame tornado. You just stare at it like, this is uncomfortable. So when you got multiple kills, it was cool, but then you just realized 10 minutes had passed.
You know what's a long animation now? Is I don't know what you guys think. But when you play curses, especially Drain Vitality, I know this is kind of a little off topic though, but like, does anybody notice that the time is so long for that before you can even do another action or hit end turn?
Yeah, it seems like it hovers for a second.
Oh my god, it triggers me beyond belief. I almost don't even want to play the card because it takes so long.
But fireworks.
Yo, I'm over it. Give me the words. Just let me do keep going with my turn.
Speaking of dynamics, it's very Vorthos of me to say, but fireworks, and then very like Spike of you to say no. Just give me the like, you know what I mean? Like speaking of psychographics, right there.
We didn't even talk about Vorthos and Mel, but those are the other 2 profiles that definitely would suggest.
To appease to the Vorthos in you, you can still take actions while you're shouting. I'm just using my mouth.
You can't even chew gum while walking. Like, that's asking a lot.
Jeez, that's a lot of ask for, man. Jeez, I don't know. They changed shouts, right? Like, so it used to be like it did the effect then the thing, or the other way around. But I prefer the old way. I don't know why they changed that. Speaking of which, but anyway, going back, I do like this list a lot. Wildfire has been a standout for me as well. I like seeing him grow and I like to see him kill things. And how do you feel about the Undying Dragon and Rage combo? That's probably one of my favorite things. I've gotten that off a couple times where I did like Control Crusader. And seeing token decks just kind of pause for a minute after you pull it off and then concede. I'm not sure, Charm, if you've had that experience, but that is probably the most...
I haven't actually had it with the dragon yet. I've had people just up and concede after the 9 Magicka from hand Ravenous Hunger combo, right? So you can Ravenous Hunger and then Unstoppable Rage. I haven't had it happen yet with the dragon, but I can fully see that happening because you're not only clearing a lane, but you're going to gain, like, let's be honest, you're going to gain enough health that thing just jumps to 10-10 status. So it's like, it's the impending doom of all impending dooms, really, at that point.
Tokens decks in general are all, you know, one of the things I think they have in common is that it's fairly obvious when they can no longer win, right? Like, they're drawing 1 card a turn because you just wipe their board and you gain 40 life. And they can play it out because, like, you're going to take your sweet time, but it's over.
Gonna sit back and relax. Alright.
So, one last honorable mention that I want to throw into this list is it does run 1 Pillaging Tribune. So even if you don't have the dragon or the Ravenous Hunger, for example, there are other ways to trigger the Unstoppable Rage and Drain combo, even on itself. Because Pillaging Tribune can't attack, it can still give itself Drain. So if you have the full 12 Magicka, it can serve as a stand-in. Because the Pillaging Tribune grants Drain on summon, then the flicker effect on that from A Night to Remember is another great way to give something else Drain. And another honorable mention is Tyr. Tyr has Breakthrough and Prophecy, so if he enters play after a Prophecy, a lot of times people, if it was their final attack, they don't have the ability to counter Tyr. So Tyr jumps right into a lane to contest other things, and then you can untap. Excuse me, magic's coming out in me, right? You enter your turn and immediately rage and clear the lane and possibly get a bunch of awesome breakthrough damage. So it's one of the like weird rare times where Tyr is like awesome, and that's when you pair him with like the surprise unstoppable rage.
I thought Tyr was
the other time is we all have orbs.
Never mind.
The other time Tyr is awesome is when it pops out in that first rune, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like he's the OG Mystic Dragon for sure, but
OG Mystic Dragon.
I think he's even better with Unstoppable Rage at the ready.
Yeah, I agree. Nice finisher and legit. So, question: did you guys also in the story mode? Did you guys take Tyr or the Orb? Be honest.
I took the Orb, man. I played control
decks. Oh, you monster! You killed your friend. After the entire journey, you just killed him.
Then I spent 6 months recording videos with Crusader.
So I
Yeah,
I took the Orb, man.
You took the Orb too, Schwiddy?
Oh yeah, dude! Did you read the text on the Orb? It was like, this card looks so much fun.
You just had this whole journey. You fought the Pound of Pits. You fought some evil trees. And you fought some demons, and then you just let the guy die.
Well, I didn't really get to know Tyr that well, but then I looked at what the Orb could do for me, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty exciting. I don't really know you that well.
Well, I mean, we did travel together, but I mean, it hasn't been that long. Charm3r, Brad.
That's some cynical stuff there, Schwiddy.
I took Tyr.
Yes.
And then I was immediately upset and pissed off because I found out there was a title tied to the Orb. And I didn't end up opening an Orb until like 9 months later when I opened a premium one.
But you don't have the death of your friend on your conscience, and that's just fantastic, right?
I mean, I guess, but I sleep like a baby at night, so...
Fair enough. There you go, see? No like hot
Savage.
flashes of Tyr's sad face. And Bradford, did you take Tyr or the Orb?
I took Tyr. Only because I thought his name was Tyre, and I thought it was hilarious to call him Tyre.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I'm
I
only
would
saving
like a
your
tire,
life.
thank you.
I'm only saving your life because I think your name is funny. If your name was Paul, you'd be dead right now.
I'm pretty sure Justin's ready to strangle me right now.
It's cool, dude. Like, but there's this movie called Rubber about this tire that rolls around killing people. It's like a horror movie. I highly recommend it.
That director has a bunch of great movies. If
Does he
you're
really?
watching- yeah. Wrong and Wrong Cops are hilarious.
Watched it in a previous
Yeah,
life when it made
genius.
a whole lot of sense to me. And I need to get back to. I need to see that movie now.
Alright, sounds good. I think it's on Netflix. I think I've seen that. So let's see. Yeah, one more thing about Tears. Fun fact, if anyone cares. He's named after the Norse god War. That was pretty awesome. So, I mean, obviously the Nords are just about Norse mythology. So I kind of hope they keep on the trend with like other, Norse gods being cards-ish. Alright. Any other words on the Crusader deck? Alright. So, we go over to my deck. Hello, folks. This is what I like to call Stealer of Secrets OTK. So, I used to really, really love me some Ultra Assassin to kind of de-stress after ladder, but then I gave this a try. I have to say, I absolutely love this deck. Just the way it plays, right? Just kind of on edge, remove everything my opponent plays, and then blast them all in one shot sometimes. Or sometimes you gotta improvise, but for the most part, I think this deck is just phenomenal. So let me kind of explain the combo. The combo is on about 11 mana, sometimes more, but you want to have Stealers, you want to build up a big Stealer with Secrets. What she is, some of you may not know what Stealer Secret is. She's a 6 mana 1/1 ward. I know that sounds absolutely terrible, but hear me out. What she does is for every action in your discard pile, she gains 1/1. So the trick is to just cast a bunch of actions. So casting things like Revealing the Unseen, which is an amazing card in this deck because it counts as 3 actions. Revealing the Unseen, 3 mana, summon 2 random actions to your hand. So Revealing the Unseen itself counts, and then the 2 summons also count. It's fantastic. So you cast spells that build her up big. You can use your creatures that you do have to chip away at damage to slowly get there. So, and then you use a Nord Firebrand and Mentor's Ring. So basically, Nord Firebrand, 0 mana, 1/1 charge. Mentor's Ring gives all your creatures, whoever equips that gets all their keywords. So ideally, you throw out the Firebrand, you throw out the Stealer, throw the Mentor's Ring on the Firebrand, your ginormous Stealer just smashes your opponent, and they never really see it coming. It's just this random deck. I actually took the time to make a video on this because I like this deck so much. It's kind of fun. I enjoy thinking on my toes with it because you have Moment of Clarity and Revealing Unseen that gives you random actions. Oh, so Body Arcanist also gives you random actions. So basically, you have to really get some action, and you have to make the optimal use of that action to either survive or just straight up, die. Like, you have to really, whatever random actions you get, you have to make most use of them. But of course, we have some cards to discard. I use Aston Spiriture because sometimes you do get a junk action you just can't use to shuffle through the deck. So if any of the rest of you have the opportunity to try Stealer Secrets out?
Oh yeah, man! I love playing Stealer Secrets combo. I spice it up a little with the addition of Skeever Infestation, so that I'm doubling down on my memes, right? So that if one doesn't work, then at least I can lose with a bunch of rats on the board.
I like it.
I think the funniest thing is when you run across this deck if someone's playing it, because it takes you a while to catch on what's going on. You're like, oh, okay, Battle Mage aggro, and then you're like, well, he's not aggro. Then you put him on Merrick, and then you just realize he's just playing actions, and then you're like, oh shit, there's actually a timer on this game.
What's going on?
It's only gonna be so long until he finds that combo.
That's happened to me before.
It's the best feeling though, because most people do assume like, all right, he's gonna use after a while they think you're Merrick, and then after a while they realize wait a minute, especially in the first few turns, you're just playing you play a raiding party and conspirator, they're not thinking too much about it. I actually love it. And I actually really like Mentor's Ring in this deck. That card that gives... I'd like to experiment with it more in other decks, is just the fact that it is on the slow side.
It's worth pointing out that if Mentor's Ring appeals to you and you're looking for ways to kill people sort of like this, you can do something similar in Sorcerer Ramp with Flesh Atronach and Shadowmare.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Never thought about that. You just gotta
the one Shadowmare, but if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, right?
True that. I like that idea. Well, I'm gonna brew up a deck for that. Trying to smash away with my Mentor's Ring. Well, it's any purple deck, right? So Shadowmere and... Oh no, it has to be purple. Yeah, it has to be blue, because Mentor's Ring is blue. Never mind.
It's just Shadowmere. It's your only help in that deck.
Throw in all the cycle and pray for the Shadowmere Dream. I like it. I actually consider Shadowmere in the Battle Mage version. Just because... It'd be another charge creature when you can get a Firebrand, but I end up cutting it. Although I do like Shadowmere a lot. Unfortunately, it is bugged right now, as it doesn't go into. I guess I'll throw this warning out. It doesn't always go back into your deck like it's supposed to. Sometimes it just goes to the graveyard, and you don't really get any value out of it. But then again, it's a 1-mana 1/1, so I guess it doesn't hurt too much. But it is taking up deck space. All right.
Yeah, I was playing a version of. I was playing Stealer Secrets combo a while back, and I was playing Battle Mage's Onslaught, right? And the creature it gave me was Shadowmere, and I was all bummed out. What am I going to do with this piece of crap? And then for 2 or 3 turns, I had the combo in hand and 25 actions in my discard pile, and just finally struck me. I was like, oh my god, he's at 30, I have lethal.
Exactly. Alright, not much. It's a pretty straightforward deck. I would suggest, if you got the spare dust, crafting some of these cards. Stealer Secrets, she is from... Actually, let's verify that before I tell you to do that thing. I want to say Madhouse. Nope, Dark Brotherhood, even better. Which is the amazing adventure expansion. So all the cards you get are pretty legit. But alright, that's all I got really to say about Stealer Secrets OTK. It's a blast it's an absolute pleasure to play. And a lot of fun. Anyone else got?
I wanted to throw out real quick. I'm actually giving away 5 copies of Fall of the Dark Brotherhood on Monday. So if you want to swing on over to my channel on YouTube, you can check that out and see how to win.
Hey, definitely feel free to link that in the chat if you like. Let people know to swing by that channel. All right, so I guess we'll move on our round table to the Justin Larson. Yeah.
Bradford, that is not my channel name. How dare you?
What? I didn't know that.
Well,
I know. That channel happen right now.
I'm gonna make that channel right now. I guess.
That's where we can post orc rap videos.
I'll just repost all Justin's videos on there.
Here, let me post it.
I'll probably make more money than you.
Oh, I just see what you posted. The Justin Bring the Day memes. That also.
That's where he does his fidget spinning sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, I dabble. I mean, I started off with Rubik's.
Yeah.
Fidget spinning. I love it.
Yeah, he just sits there and does fidget spinner videos.
Yeah. I'm moving into beard grooming, actually.
Oh wow, that sounds awesome, man. Are you into fancy designs? You should cornrow beard.
It's a really good idea. I'm gonna start simple. I'm gonna put stars in the side of my beard, and then I'm gonna dye the front of it purple.
I like where this is going. I think that's an excellent idea.
Start simple.
Let's really go for it.
Okay, so here we go with this. This is like a high Hotgar deck.
Yeah, we got a little spicy one here, right? So I've mono purple is one of my favorite things to do in this game, and somebody asked me to play Emperor Titus Mead in a deck. Emperor Titus Mead's I'm not gonna lie, the effect's cool, but it's a fairly awful card. So I was like, how can I possibly make this playable? And so I went with my go-to, which is mono purple, just value creatures, and then I threw in High Rothgar to double down on the memes again, like I was saying. It's a good way to make sure that you lose in style. And I had a great time with Ring of Imaginary Mighting my creatures up to ridiculous strength and smash face. I actually took this onto the gauntlet and got like 6 or 7 wins.
Sick. That's actually really awesome, actually. I've seen scout variants of this. I see you reckon the sorcerer. I like it a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to High Rothgar, so I had to bring the Studious Greybeards along. That was honestly the impetus there. So I guess that's some of that Vorthos action.
Alright, sweet. Vorthos does like the story and how they integrate like that. So that's pretty sick, I think. I like this deck. So, let's see. Ring of Might. How many people have you... do people pause when you play Portcullis? Do they just kind of stop and, like, before playing out their turn, they just kind of look at it, like, hover over it?
Portcullis is great. Real quick, funny story. I was in the closed beta for Legends. Like, I started back in, like, last May. And my very first comment on the feedback forums was that I thought... I'm such an idiot, but I thought that Portcullis was overpowered. Like, somebody had equipped a Daedric Dagger to it. I give up, man. I don't know how to win.
It's a 1/9 lethal kills everything. It's unstoppable.
I mean, like, it thoroughly smashed my creatures. But Portcullis is great. I mean, look, the card... Oh, yeah, let me take that back. Portcullis is a really terrible card. But the thrill of smashing somebody for 9 damage with a Portcullis is unparalleled in this game. And it's the sort of thing that keeps me going.
That's true. And, I bet it's a complete shock when they see, like, when you put a ring on, it's 11/11 all of a sudden. That's pretty vicious.
And, you can really, like, I honestly believe that Mono Purple has got enough strong, like, overstated minions that it's possible to just win games on the back of those. I mean, you curve from Windkeep Spellsword into a Haunting Spirit, into a Gloomwraith, and you're going to win games just by being the guy with the biggest, best creatures on the board, But what this deck aims to do is slap Ring of Imaginary Might or High Rothgar on the board with things like Lurking Mummy, Portcullis, and Cicero. And Warden, turns out, as a 5/5, is a really impressive creature.
Yeah, let's see. A 3-mana 5/5? 2-mana 5/5 sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then you just... things like Stalwart Ally and Gloomwraith in particular are such valuable creatures when you can reliably trigger that, it's win-win. It's not unlikely to pull down a Gloomwraith on turn 4 as a 5/5 or a 6/6. That you can definitely make that happen.
I've always liked the card Gloomwraith and wanted to throw it in the deck. So how does that work? Does it work out consistently for you in this deck? I assume it does.
Gloomwraith's it's one of the best cards in the deck. Gloomwraith actually, when, again, back in closed beta and then the first month or so of open beta, Gloomwraith was in the first version of Ramp Scout that I was playing, and it's a real beating. I mean, much more purple-oriented creatures with just green for, like, Tazcad and Thorn Histmage. And Gloomwraith just provides steady beatdown. The guy's got Breakthrough. He's a 3/3 that gets +1/+1 for every other purple creature you have. He's unstoppable sometimes and can really take over games against decks that don't have a lot of removal or damage-based removal since he comes down so large.
Like it a lot.
Sorcerer's Negation is the other blue card that we included here, and that's just one of the most powerful removal spells in the game. When you have an 11/11 creature sitting behind a Hive Defender, nothing feels better than silencing the Hive Defender.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's pretty amazing. It's a sweet card too. 2 damage, silence, another Daggerfall answer. All around an impressive card.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright.
I think deep down, like, I got a lot of the Timmy and a lot of the Johnny in me. I like playing the goofy combos, and I like playing the big giant creatures. And this is an opportunity to do both because, the small little synergies with the Toughness Matters stuff, the opportunity to swing with giant creatures, it's really all here. And the decks hit some parts of the ladder and win very consistently.
Great. I must say, one of my favorite cards is Bone Colossus. I think it's probably one of the coolest effects. And I'm always kind of shocked it's not played more. Like, a 7/7 at 6 extra points of damage is not silenced. It's pretty impressive to me.
It kind of depends on the meta, right? Because, it curves perfectly into your opponent's Dawn's Wrath. But, if you're already winning, it's great. Which is sort of the problem with it in the first place, though, right? Because, like, you kind of want cards that are more flexible than that in a really balanced deck. But in the right situation, Bone Colossus is unstoppable and definitely seals the deal against an opponent.
Oh, no doubt. Alright, I look at the artwork on that. Probably one of the best up there, Bone Colossus. Really well done. Alright. Before we, I don't know, Justin, do you have any final words on the deck? Alright.
I would say, in general, I would encourage people to play these sorts of decks because, I don't know, everybody's different, obviously, but the joy I find in playing games like this isn't from winning all the time. It's from winning in ways that are interesting, right? And it takes a couple minutes to come up with something different, but then give it a shot, and you never know, you might end up with something great.
Absolutely. I also think this looks great. Anybody else have any comment on the High Hrothgar Sorcerer?
I quickly want to say that I think High Hrothgar is one of my favorite cards in general, and I'd like to see. I love playing these kind of decks because I really like Dorian and Magic, which does a very similar type of thing. It's just, I don't know. I really like the idea of like turning your defensive looking deck into like this beast of a powerful thing through the synergies of something like High Hrothgar. It's just really fun. I love these kind of decks.
Absolutely. All right. We will move on to our next deck, and this is Schwiddy's Spicy Spellsword list.
Spicy it is.
All right. So go ahead and give us a rundown.
So basically what it is you just attempt to get Imperial Might on the board, which is a 5-mana support card that pumps out a 1/1 at the end of your turn. And also the combination of a Necromancer's Amulet, the 3-mana support that whenever a creature dies, you lose 1 life, or you gain 1 life. So essentially what you want to do is just get those on there, 2 of each, and you're basically gaining, 4 health a turn every time that those cards die. And when you start to combo it with other cards like, Imperial Reinforcements to gain more health, or Disciple Namira or Bandit Ringleader to use those guys to draw a bunch of cards, it's pretty exciting. And you can get in situations where you don't have to play any cards, and your opponent just can't kill you through the healing that you're consistently getting value off of. There's times where, playing a 5-mana support that drops a 1/1 on the board isn't always the best play. And sometimes that's like the hardest time to get that card out because it's the most awkward. But if you can get them going, you can literally just sit back and just relax.
For sure. I've tried a similar deck to this actually. I tried making a very grindy spell sword, where I just kept summoning tokens over and over, and this ended up kind of ruining people's days. Kind of want to just drag up a game with tons of tokens, constantly healing from necromancers, and then kind of just slowly poking away.
Yeah, if you really do get the combo going, you can literally just sit there and just grind out your opponent. And with that, it's funny because you used to be able to have 6 support slots, and this deck used to really shine then. Because then you're just pumping out 3 1/1s and gaining 3 health per each one of those dying, so 9 health a turn, right? But they nerfed the support slots, but then they added Jarl Balgruuf. They gave us an alternative win condition, and it's actually surprising how many times I've actually been able to get the card off with this deck.
I must say, Jarl was amazing. Jarl Balgruuf, I love that. I love the animation. That straight up big ass wall just pow. That's I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot, and I used to try to make Exodia decks. And sometimes
I'm sorry.
I am a bad person. No, but I like the insta win, alternate win conditions concepts. Of my opponent doesn't concede, and I don't take their health to 0. I won by the Wall of Justice from Jarl Balgruuf, and I just really find fun in those effects.
Tough here, but when I was a kid, we used to play instant lose games like chickens on the railroad tracks.
What?
Chicken? Where are you from again?
From Kansas.
Okay, that adds up.
What the hell is chickens on the railroad track?
How's that game work? Yes, please.
Around the side of the railroad tracks drinking, right, with your buddies. And, there's a lot of trains that pass through the area I was in. And when the trains would come by, you'd stand on the tracks as long as you could. And then you'd jump off, and somebody would time to see how long it was from when you jumped off to when the train passed you. And, whoever's the biggest pussy, loses.
Wait, pussy though? Aren't you like the intelligent one?
I don't advise anyone to play this game. Just
brave
service
as hell.
announcement.
Disclaimer.
We don't.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. This is at home, obviously, but for the game I played as a kid.
Well, that's I played tag as a kid. Kind of boring. Chicken on the road. That's awesome, actually. Well, I would never participate. Actually, like, oh guys, well, I'll be a timer. I'd always volunteer for the timer for sure. You guys have fun. I'll just clock.
We were weeding out the week, you know. I mean,
I like it. Darwin Award. We're weeding out the. I love it. Darwin Award.
Look, you guys should be thanking us, okay? Some of these guys I grew up with, like, we don't need them, all right?
We don't need them. Oh my god.
Dang, you gave me bad remarks about me saying I didn't care for Tier because we didn't get to know each other.
Well, I did know these guys, and that's why I feel this way.
He actually got to understand they're better off. Oh, jeez. So what was the greatest time? Would you remember who had the closest time?
It's usually like 3 or 4 seconds.
Fair enough. That
Yeah,
is-
which, I mean, things move pretty fast. So, I mean, it seems reasonable.
Okay, seems good to me. Sorry. That's...
Imperial Might's pretty cool, too.
Yeah, I want to make that card work because I like the concept of something like constantly summon something.
What'd you say? Did you say make the card work?
Well, yeah. I tried.
Because we just did. Try it out, bud.
Alright, fair one. Touche. Alright, you got me there. Alright, so, yeah. You made one out. I'm still thinking about chickens on the railroad tracks. Like, I don't know. That's still on my mind. As a kid, I don't know if I would play that. But now I want to build a deck based off of that concept.
Yeah. Challenge yourself to get down to 1 life and then win the game.
I'm like, you guys, I need you all to build a chicken on the railroad tracks deck. That's a challenge. And issue announce.
Gotta start with 3 prize chickens.
Listen.
Yes, you have to use prize. Yes.
You get into Prophecy Battle Mage, and you basically got the concept down.
Love it.
My lawyer advises me to not endorse this kind of behavior, but I would like to point out that with Legends on mobile, you can actually play Chicken on the Tracks while playing the Chicken on the Tracks deck.
Oh my god.
Chicken on the tracks Inception. Oh, jeez. Do it. Yeah. You know, I like to. I don't want to tell anyone to record it and send me a video for a compilation. I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. For the love of God.
Yeah, direct those to Gym Class Hero. I do not respond to those messages.
For the love of God, don't
Also,
do that, please.
my name, in case anyone's curious, is Charmer.
Hey guys, this is a really cool stream. I'm your host, Paul. Just saying this, but seriously, that's great.
Where am I? How did I get here? I'm so confused.
Khajiit is lost. Alright. That's awesome. So let's see. This kind of deck. So I see. Oh, you are running Priest of the Eights. I'm like jumping between these jokes to the meme jokes, trying to focus on the deck, but it's a fascinating backstory. Piercing Javelin. I love this deck. A lot of card draw on this. I don't think I was running on the card draw when I was trying to meme it up. But I do like the Land of Item of Alliance deck. Because it threw people so off. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it can guard up an entire lane while also gaining you a ton of life.
what?
Or it's just another lane fill, right, for clearing potential in the field lane, or guarding up that lane, the shadow lane. And then if Necromancer, it's like all the cards just really are there to like support the Imperial Might and Necromancer's Amulet. Outside of them, if you don't have those combos, the cards end up becoming a lot less good, right?
Uh-huh.
But once you have those cards on the board, all the other cards just like become that much better to support those cards.
Awesome. Alright. Well, I think that's what I have. Anyone else have a comment on this deck? Alrighty then. So I guess this is the part of the podcast where I will leave a little bit of time left. We do have a little bit of time for questions from the chat. So please go ahead and feel free to ask your questions. but I do also want to get last week's questions out. So while you guys are plugging your questions away in the chat, I'll quickly run through last week's questions. If any of the guys, please feel free to guys on the cast, my guests, please to interrupt me as I try to motor mouth through this. Ray Barker asked, ideal competitive scene for TESL, what's yours? I guess a lot of tournaments with variety. Not necessarily in format, but just not necessarily in like, when I say format, I mean like strike or last one standing. Whenever they decide the appropriate format, that's fine. But I like various. I would like to see things like round robin, Swiss, typical bracket style, group play, and all that kind of jazz. Rupix asked, now that token aggro decks are pushing ramp cards hard, is it safe to play control again? I've been doing okay with control mage. I tried control spell sword, but just play mage. Bones the third. And what kind of deck would you want if given the chance? What kind of deck you would want if given the chance? I'd like to see a mill. I don't think a lot of people agree with the concept of mill, but I think it's a sweet deck. And that's last week's question we did get to. So let me check the chat now. What's the medium velocity of a swallow carrying a coconut?
African or European?
What? Yeah, African or European, exactly.
African or European is the question we're shooting back, Alex.
What's amateur ornithology hour here?
What's the medium velocity of a swallow carrying a coconut? He says he doesn't know what the hell is that.
I would just like to point out that a 5-pound bird simply cannot carry a 1-pound coconut.
What if it's a couple birds working together?
It's the Coconut Express. I love that Charm3r knew that. Like, I just want you guys to know. I just love that she's a 5-pound bird. Cannot. Alright, that's outstanding. Let's see. Fermented Fart asked, what a great name. Thanks, Caitlin. Outstanding. So, can I go to sleep and let the stream on to get a drop? You can. Why not? I don't see any reason. Yeah.
Just a lazy way to get drops, right?
I mean, hey, man, I'm not gonna. If you're adding views to my stream, you're adding views to the stream.
No.
I'm not selling out. Ray Barker asked one more question.
Down there.
Yeah. Ray Barker says one more question. That's it. Yep, and we're done. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead and ask.
Yummy had a question here. He said, "What types of discard and interruption would you like to see in Legends?"
Oh,
I think like discard effects would be so much fun, but they're also like really unfun for your opponents. So that's like the huge problem. But discard has always been a bunch of fun to play in Magic because just like knowing that you're just like making your opponent discard all the cards they like just can't wait to play makes me feel like so good inside. But
oh my god.
It's like super unfun for your opponent, so I don't know if they'll ever actually do that.
I mean,
I think that's I was going to say, I think that's an interesting question. What is the thing that is the most unfun mechanic from other games that you wish was in Legends?
Mill. Mill for sure.
Stacks. Never mind. No one knows what stacks is besides
I-
me, maybe.
Smoke? Are you talking about like MTG
smoke
stacks?
stacks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's right up my alley. What I was about in Destruction, because to me there was nothing more fun than a turn 1 birds, turn 2 stone rain into like a turn 3 plow under. So if I had a way to destroy my opponent's crystals, even if what I'd almost like to see is a way for you to, if you can't destroy their primary crystals, destroy any crystals that they have gained, right? Like I want the anti-tree minder.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That tree minder, like Monsanto.
Like Monsanto?
Anti-tree minder.
Perfect comment.
I think there are ways that you can do more interactive stuff, like with what your opponent's doing. Like I think that it'd be cool to like have like a 2 Magicka purple support, for instance, that said the next creature your opponent plays is mummified, right? Turns into a 2/2 zombie. I think you could do stuff like that.
Okay, well.
Just sort of like active trap cards.
besides mill though, I'd like to see graveyard interaction, but on the negative end, I guess. So something that's a card that says banish a card. So so another archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! I liked. Well, I guess this answers both the Yum Yums and the kind of follow-up question about archetypes. Something that banishes cards, but then cards that interact with banishment. And I think that worked great in this game because the whole concept of Oblivion, where the Daedra come from and all that, could be like that archetype. So I think it'd be cool to banish a card in your opponent's graveyard, and then maybe have another follow-up card later on that can summon that banished card onto either your hand or the field. So I guess graveyard banishment and benefit interaction would be something I'd love to see. If we couldn't have no.
I think something realistic that I would like to see, that I actually think is viable to see happen here at some point, is something that I completely went out of my head right there because I lost my train of thought. So yeah, that just happened. What was the card? Free cards that have a cost effect where you have to like pitch a card. So the case example in Magic is Force of Will, but like basically a card that you can cast for free if X is met. So X being pitch a card, or something along the lines of discard 2 cards. This effect will happen. And I think that would be really cool. And like the one that comes to my mind is like, what if it's a 10 Magicka? Let's not even say that. Let's say it's 8 Magicka draw 2 card, but it says instead you may pitch 3 blue cards in order to do this effect, or pitch 3 red cards in order to do this effect, and it would allow you to like cycle through your deck really fast, create kind of crazy combo decks. Again, that might be too powerful, but that's like sort of an example of what I'm thinking about on that line. But it's like you have to give up resources in order to achieve the efficiency that you would get for 0 cost. And I think that's a really neat mechanic in this game because we have Prophecy, which already gives you 0 cost cards. So it would be a way to keep up on tempo against that mechanic.
Okay.
I mean, I've always kind of thought of Force of Will as like the perfectly balanced card, right? Because it's either an incredibly expensive counterspell if you actually hardcast it, or it's like card disadvantage for that reactivity and that crunch time, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you could start. I really like this idea. I mean, you could start with just something like a Piercing Javelin that costs 7 that says you can discard a yellow card, right? And because that's not overpowered, that's reactive, so you're not going to advance your board necessarily by playing this, but you are going to be you're creating that tension, which I think is really important in card games.
So allow me to jump in here and talk about the different ways that we could absolutely break this and how I think we balance it. So the problem with the pitch card thing in a game like Legends is that because it's a digital format and it's not like Magic, there are so many existing effects, not even counting future printed things, that allow us to put cards into our hand fairly cheaply. Like think about your raiding parties, your marked mans, your completed contracts. There are a lot of different ways where you could load your hand with fodder. So I think that the best way, if you wanted to introduce something like this, would be that you had to discard cards from your hand, but the total cost of the cards had to equal whatever it was you were playing, right? So if you have that Javelin that costs 7, then you have to pitch, either a card or a total number of cards that would cost 7 or more from your hand. So you can't just pitch like, the makeshift defenses that Marked Man put in your hand. You have to pitch things of actual value or meaning. And I like that specifically because it also would give you a reason to play potentially Prophecy cards that are suboptimal because you'd get a second use out of them if you drew them into your hand. So like Dark Harvester would no longer suck nearly as much if you drew it into your hand because you'd have this alternate use for it. And I think that would be really interesting.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You mentioned something kind of just sort of thinking about what you said about raiding party tokens. I think that Nord Firebrand and Raiding Party probably stifle card design in this game more than anything else in the entire game.
There's a reason that I love Time to Fight, and it's because it's broken every day of the week.
Excellent. Interesting. All right, so let's see some other questions. What see about? How's time looking for you guys?
Time's a good thing. I enjoy time. So yeah, that's good.
Too
Alright.
much time on my hands.
Alright, I'll do. God damn it! Everyone's a troll in this community. I love it. Alright, let's do 3 more questions. Let's see. I see Elite MILF ask, I have a question. To whomever, what is your favorite Unstoppable Rage combo? Child Hersey with Breakthrough or Night Talon Lord is yours. I'd say my favorite, besides the ones you mentioned, I'd like the Pomerat Renegade. I really like drawing cards. I like wiping my opponent's board and just drawing a bunch of things. Even when you overdraw, it's just like, yep, get this value.
Ooh,
I like
Night Talon Lord.
yes. It's the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah, Batman for sure.
Killer can do pretty stupid things too.
Excellent. Alright. Let's see. Alex has a serious question. How about coconuts this time? Now, seriously, what if we had a mechanic that restores runes? That's an interesting mechanic. So, I mean, restoring runes, so that adds the chance to get potentially more prophecies and adds more draws for the defensive player. I know there's a rune spells in the game where you can cast a fire rune on the ground. So it really depends. I mean, I'm kind of against that. I think maybe that wouldn't be too great for the game. Well,
Man, you just inspired me, actually. Like, the fire rune thing is great. I mean, imagine a card, like a battle mage card, says, replace one of your runes with a fire rune, right? So that when that rune breaks, instead of drawing a card and triggering a prophecy, something happens, like you fireball your opponent. I think that's an interesting design space.
Okay, that would be interesting to me. Like, replacing the runes versus repairing them, I'd be all for. You know, like a lightning rune, which is like, maybe not a bolt effect, but a certain amount of damage. So you give up maybe the potential prophecy, but add, other advantage.
That'd be cool if they did, like, we've done like Brotherhood expansion. If they did like a Mages Guild expansion, that would be like kind of a cool way to introduce like replacing runes. It's like
I like that a lot.
Mages Guild way to do it.
Yeah, so replacing runes.
We still need a Mages Guild recruit.
Oh yeah, we do. What would Mages Guild recruit do? Random spell from your hand or something, or from your hand, from your deck. I don't know. Let's see. So another question. We got time for one more. Would you guys like if there was a card that would put 3 copies of a random 1 cost in your opponent's deck? Hey, Eternal has that, doesn't it? Light the Fuse. I love that card. It's pretty mean, but I'd be down for a fire rune in this game. Actually,
Ambush.
Put 3 fire runes in your opponent's deck. When they draw it, they immediately draw a card, but also take X amount of damage. I could swing with something like that.
I think anything that explores design space that you can only really do very well in digital card games is stuff we should be doing more of. And you mentioned Eternal. I think Eternal does this better than any card game on the market. I think that Legends hints at a lot of it, and there's a lot of room to do more of it. But shuffling stuff into my opponent's deck is something that I definitely want to do in this game.
Okay. And did we get 3? I think we got everyone now. So, Farian asked, if I go on a 2-month hiatus, come back and enter a tournament, do I lose in the quarterfinals? Probably. Alright, can we show the decks work? I mean, I don't think really. Ray Barker.
Straight up, probably. You'd probably lose. You could feel like bud.
I didn't even see Farian's comment, and then I was like, wait, what? Farian YFP just made a comment?
Yeah,
I was
right?
like, look up, and I'm just
He's
like,
back.
oh god, Farian.
Back from the dead.
You might be able to win with one of these decks if you find an opponent who is willing to play another one.
Yeah, we brought 4 decks here. There's a tournament coming up on Sunday. Like, these are clearly the list you bring.
No one will see these coming, I swear. They're gonna ban out your.
I would encourage you to ban Crusader because it looks like it might be able to win.
Alright.
I was gonna say, so legitimate, real question here, gang. If somebody brought these 4 decks, which one do you ban?
Crusader, you ban. Honestly, that's the only one that I think I can beat the others.
I would ban if I was on an aggro lineup, I would ban the mono purple deck.
I think I mean, when I win games with that deck, it's against tokens.
Yeah. I'd be really afraid if I was on an aggro lineup. If I was on a controlling lineup, I would be afraid probably of the Stealer Secrets combo deck or the time to get Schwiddy deck or whatever. What's that? What do we call that nowadays, Schwiddy?
Schwiddy.
Time to get
just probably
Schwiddy.
like time waster deck because you just like waste their
waster.
time.
Got it.
Because you just pass turn and let them try to beat you through the heel each turn.
So much time on my hands.
That's just singing your play.
We gotta say this. I went to a Styx concert like 15 years ago. and
What sticks?
what Styx? That's where I
Bad
lived,
Company
actually.
opening?
Bad Company
actually
opened for
pretty good,
Styx. I know, it was a pretty great show. But these guys were old 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And the guy wanders out in the crowd with a guitarist. He's got a wireless guitar thing, and he wanders out into the crowd, and he's like, "Where are we?" And the audience is like, "Kansas City," and he's like, "No, we're in Styx World."
What a boss!
I mean, you can't argue with that logic.
You really can't.
It's pretty solid.
It was
Alright.
good.
Sticking to the facts.
This is Styx World. Okay. Alright. Ray, I'd like to play the decks, but I'm not sure. We are pushing you to time on this. I don't think we can really show a demonstration of the decks. Maybe another time? Maybe we can just have like a meme deck tournament sometime, but... Okay, wait, we have one more question from Hayden. He gave a bunch of bits, so why not? Hey guys, is that sellout? Hey guys, how about spell damage like a card or a set of cards that say summon, give the next action +1? Absolutely would love that.
No, I hate it. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna quickly discuss why I think this is a bad idea. That I love the idea of it, and it's really cool. But from a balance perspective, it generates so much differentiation and balance. So deal 1 damage to everything, like Fireball becomes incredibly powerful. Supreme Atromancer is no longer playable, so it affects how they want to balance the game. Now, granted, I hate Supreme Atromancer, so here I am saying, like it unbalances a card that I hate. But
She's not spell
Amen, amen, brother.
yeah. But the reality is
finally people who agree Atromancer is terrible. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Friends. Sorry.
I'm not a big fan of the card. Anyway, but basically the idea, I think the one of the issues with doing something like that is you put the game in a position where it forces balance issues that are like I've just seen it firsthand with Hearthstone and said to myself after seeing it, like, this was a bad idea for their front.
So you're saying there should be a unique legendary?
That it should be, as you say, it should be a unique legendary.
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's how these powerful cards end up being unique legendary. That's how we skim around it.
Man.
Be a
I mean,
legend-
maybe I guess in a 50 card deck it's viable. Okay, sure.
Yeah, 1 out of 50 cards that bust all spell damage.
Like a legendary
Sure.
groundhog, rodent type thing. You could call it Malagopher.
What?
So you're gonna sugarcoat it with the sweetest name possible and make it amazing sounding in order to make the player think that it's not a problem? I like it. I'm on board now.
There we go. It's not a problem if you don't think it's a problem.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, this seems absolutely normal to me now.
Alright.
Why did I not think of this at first?
Alright. Okay, so I think we can close out now. We're a bit over the time, I think. But this has been a lot of fun. First off, I'd like to thank my guests today, Charm3r, Bradfordlee, Justin, and Schwiddy. Thanks for taking the time out of your days to come out for this. This was really awesome. I really appreciate it. And then next, I'd like to thank the viewers. All 934 of you beautiful bastards. That is outstanding. Thanks for sticking around and listening to us just blabble for an hour. This has been an awesome time. I guess I will say a few things in closing. I do want to do a question of the week. So something to just ponder, and I guess with these podcasts, and I would really like people to, when either I upload the podcast or even now in chat, just tell me what it means, and I'll try to get back to you next week, actually, like I did earlier. Question is, what does fun mean to you? Is it the deck building process? Is it the just winning with the most competitive decks? Is it getting your fun combo off? What does fun mean to you? And one last statement is, please, if you enjoy these casts, please make sure to, whatever app you're using to listen to the podcast, on iTunes specifically, to rate and review. Helps a bunch with building up the cast. Truly appreciate this. And thank you for listening to the Never Miss Week. I'm sorry, change the name. To the TESL podcast. And you all have a great day.